Hello, and welcome to another Auction Method webinar. My name is Daniel West. I'm one of the co-founders of Auction Method, and today we are going to be talking about Reddit. So I'm going to get my presentation up online here. Let me do that first. And we'll switch over here. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see this. So, full disclosure, this is a mostly AI generated slide deck. It's not thoroughly made by me. So if you see some weirdness in there, it's because most of this slide deck was created by Claude. So I discovered that Claude can interface with Canva, and so I was playing around with that in this case. I think it did a pretty good job, but there's always room for improvement or a little personalization, and so we'll see how these slide decks develop in the future. But anyway, like I was saying, today we're going to be talking about Reddit and most people, I hope, are familiar with Reddit, but I know that it needs a little bit of explaining because I'm actually surprised in this day and age to find people who don't know what it is or who don't use it on a regular basis. Reddit was created back in 2005, and I hate to date myself, but I was there. I was there for it when it was created, and I've been an avid Reddit user ever since the platform was launched. And even though I've witnessed it undergo a lot of changes over time, and not all of them ones that I enjoy, um, Reddit still remains one of my core sources of information and community on the internet. And I have seen quite a few success stories, participated in quite a few success stories for auction companies who use Reddit. That's what prompted this whole discussion is that I find myself actually frequently talking to people about when they ask me for marketing advice. I oftentimes find myself pointing them to Reddit. But even though it's sort of a social media channel, sort of, it's more of a forum than anything. It doesn't behave like other social media platforms, and we can't think of it in the same way. We can't advertise on there in the same way. And that's what we're going to be talking about, sort of the nuances of Reddit and how to use it in an effective manner without getting into a whole lot of trouble. Um, so for those who don't know what Reddit is, like I said, it's basically a giant public forum that is composed of mini forums. So these mini forums, they call them subreddits. And so last time I checked, there were well over 100,000 subreddits. There is a subreddit for everything. If you are interested in something, underwater basket weaving, there's a subreddit for that, you know. If you're interested in growing succulent plants, go for it. There's probably multiple subreddits dedicated to that. And these subreddits span the entire range of human interests, for better or worse. And so um, that includes a lot of there's a lot of content on Reddit that people do find objectionable. There's stuff that's not safe for work, so to speak, not safe for children, that kind of thing. Usually you have to go looking for that kind of content, but it all exists. The gamut of human experience is there. And so this represents a lot of potential for auctioneers when it comes to marketing, but it also represents a risk or a threat. So we want to make sure that you venture into this territory in a safe way. Uh, yeah, basically, as the title of this particular slide says, every auctioneer out there is marketing or advertising on Facebook. Good for you. Keep doing that. It's effective. It works. A lot of your buyers are on Facebook, they're on Instagram. Some of the younger generations, they're on TikTok and whatnot, and so good. All those social media platforms are great, particularly for paid advertising. That's not what Reddit's about. So, what we're going to be talking about today is why it matters, how you can attract bidders on there, and we're going to just touch upon some like a framework, if you will, for promoting or marketing on Reddit. So, sort of the key things that you want to think about here. So you'll see what I'm saying is that Reddit is a discovery layer for your business and for your auctions. It's not as much a advertising your auctions sort of place as it is a place where people can discover that you exist, that your marketplace exists in the first place. Um, One of the key things about Reddit is if you're trying to use it as an advertising channel where you're just all you're doing is promoting, shameless self-promotion, you're not going to last long. If you're really just focused on yourself and advertising your auctions, it's probably not the right place to do it. Um, Generally speaking, most subreddits don't even allow for self-promotion. If they do allow it, it has to be sort of in a helpful way. Um, and there is an opportunity, I'll touch on this. There is paid advertising on Reddit that can be really, really helpful. That's not most of what I'm talking about today, though. Mostly what I'm talking about is marketing and becoming discoverable, both you and your auctions on Reddit. So the thing is that, like it says in this first little component over here, the blatant advertising, you can pay to advertise on Reddit, but you don't want to use the free tools for blatant advertising. What you want is genuine engagement. That's actually harder for most auction marketers to wrap their heads around. So um, think of it as contributing to communities in one shape or another. The way that contributions work is typically by sharing media, for example. Um, there may be interesting videos or interesting pictures that you have to share that you may have generated in relation to an auction, and you can share it as long as you're not using it for this blatant advertising. And I'll give you an example of that. One of my clients had a massive auction of minerals, precious stones, like not like diamonds and things, but like crystals. And they were gorgeous. And they took a lot of beautiful pictures of these crystals. The way to use that information was to get into the rock collecting, crystal collecting communities and to just share the pictures. That's it. Not advertise the auction. So well in advance, to get in there and just be like, "Hey, look at this collection. Look at these pretty pictures." That's it. No extra like this is going to be sold on such and such date and here's a link to my website. None of that. And so that allows the users to engage with the content. They like it. People love pretty pictures or interesting pictures and videos. Media is quite important. Um, the other aspect of this is a thing that is kind of unique to Reddit. It's called karma. Um, and what karma is sort of like a credit score that your account gets for contributing to the community. And there's not a rule, there's no formula. There is a formula, but there's not published for how you gain karma. The more karma you have, the more likely that your posts will be seen and will be allowed. And if you have really high karma and you share something, Reddit's going to raise that up out of the entire mess of data that it gets, every day, all the posts. If you have high karma, it's going to raise that visibility. If you have low to no karma, then it may even be quite difficult to post in the first place. So one of the notes there is if you have a brand new Reddit account, spend some time simply engaging and contributing. So besides, there's a couple of ways to create this kind of karma through contribution. One of them I just mentioned, which is to like share media in the relevant communities. The other one is to engage with the comments. So I find myself, if I'm trying to create good karma on Reddit, I find that looking for posts where people need help um, and answering their questions is one of the best ways. And I don't mean just sort of generic answers. I mean really actually helping people with whatever their question is that you have an answer to. So in my case, I'm oftentimes answering questions with business sort of entrepreneurial stuff and uh, startups and marketing and auctions and technology, right? Because those are my areas of interest, and your areas of interest are likely going to be different. But it's important, even on the company brand account, right? So when you create your company's brand account on Reddit, you're going to be creating a voice, a character, a persona, if you will, for who your company is. My my company, Auction Methods persona, is one that seeks to be helpful, to use its skills, to use its resources, to lift other people up and to help them. So by that, what I mean is sometimes the best help that you can give someone is not just information, but just a little encouragement, just a little support. So, for example, in my startup groups, um, founders are oftentimes discouraged because they're having a hard time. And a lot of times just getting in there and saying like, hey, I know it's hard. It is hard. But you're doing the right thing and you're learning and you're growing and keep going. Just a post like that that's supportive, you'll find that the community it resonates. It's not promotional in nature, and so your karma levels go up. The other sort of secret, it's not secret, but tactical way to create karma is to do what's called cross posting. So cross posting means that you're taking content from one subreddit and you are cross posting it into another somewhat related subreddit. Cross posting is not always allowed. The big subreddit, the large communities, they won't even allow it because it's ripe for abuse, and they don't want to have the same regurgitated content displaying everywhere. Um, but at the same time, if you find an interesting post that's performing well within one subreddit and you can cross post it to another subreddit, like a local subreddit that it's related to, then it can be quite helpful. So for example, I live in Sacramento, California. If I'm on somewhere else and a post about Sacramento shows up in a completely unrelated subreddit, and I cross post it, then I'll get good karma, right? Because then people are engaging with this content. I didn't have to create the content, nothing. All I had to do was recognize that another community might be interested in it. So those are tools for getting karma. My main point, though, is to provide value, uh, to contribute, to give into the community, and that takes time, takes effort, commitment, and I promise you the rewards are there if you accumulate good karma. Just like if you don't accumulate good karma, you will not perform very well on Reddit. It's simple as that. Why is Reddit so important? Well, Google indexing is one of the key ones. It is unparalleled as far as I'm concerned, the prioritization of Reddit content on Google. So a lot of people are only familiar with Reddit because when they go and post a question on Google, a Reddit response shows up. So Google has a partnership agreement. I think it was started maybe it was like last year or the year before. They have a partnership agreement with Reddit where uh, uh, Reddit is kind of open to Google to their bots to come and index the content in a way that other search engines are not. Um, and the also OpenAI, the owners of ChatGPT, have a similar arrangement. So it's not just about Google. It's also about generative engine optimization, GEO, right? You've heard of SEO. GEO means making sure that all of the various AI tools that are out there, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Grok or whoever, that that you're optimizing your content for them as well. All of these chatbots, all of these AI tools, and all the search engines, they love Reddit, love it. And so if you're engaged and active on Reddit, then you're going to be your boat will be lifted along with that. Um, and yes, the outreach potential is great. So, good news is there is a subreddit for the professional auctioneer community. It is called R auction. So every subreddit starts with R. So you'll see the domain name is reddit.com/r/auction. That's the auction subreddit. So up until a few months ago, that subreddit, even though it has a great name, it was dysfunctional. It wasn't really in use. Nobody was going there. The posts that were being promoted there were crap. The moderator, so each subreddit has one or more moderators um, that are like the caretakers of the subreddit. The moderator was absent, and so it was just garbage. It was a dumpster fire. And so AuctionMethod petitioned Reddit, asked them if they would allow us to become the moderators of this subreddit, and Reddit agreed. So we got in there and got to work cleaning things up, and establishing a framework, some rules, basically cleaning things up, and making it so that can become a valuable resource and tool for the professional auctioneer community. So, what I would encourage you to do is to see this subreddit, our auction, as your home, as your safe place on Reddit. If you're an auctioneer, professional auctioneer, you can post to this subreddit. And if it doesn't comply with the rules of the subreddit, it's okay. We'll be understanding, help you make sure that the posts get right. We won't be banning you. We encourage you to promote yourself. We want you to promote your business, your auctions, all of your content on there. It's perfectly fine. So it's the safest place for any auctioneer is our auction. So from there, of course, you branch out and you branch out into the rest of Reddit, all of these other subreddits, which the way that you branch out, like I already mentioned, is by creating content or cross-posting content and engaging with the community. Which communities would you be engaging with besides our auction? Well, for sure, if you're a local auction company, like let's say that you're based out of Fort Worth, Texas, you should be on the local subreddits, the Texas subreddit, the Fort Worth subreddit, the all, and each subreddit is connected to other subreddits. So there's probably a Fort Worth buy and sell subreddit, right? So just go looking for the cities and the region names in your area and find those communities and subscribe to them. Become a follower or however they call it, where you're curating your own feed so that you can see content that's coming up regionally for you. So in addition to regional subreddits, there are a tremendous number of very specialized categories that you should also engage with. So if you sell vehicles, for example, then you'll want to be engaged in all of there's a million car subreddits. Get in there and do that. If you specialize in CNC equipment, there's machinery subreddits, right? If you do livestock, oh my goodness, there's, all kinds of subreddits for people who are involved with livestock. Anything, gemstones, you name it. There's really there's no asset class or no specialized auction company that won't find a community of interest on Reddit. You have to go looking for them, but just go search. Go search for the things that are relevant to your business, that are related to your business, and then just watch the content and engage in a meaningful, in a way that is not insincere. In the beginning, especially, right? Just, like I said, let's say that you're on the Fort Worth, subreddit, and somebody posts a comment, and they say, where's the best fried chicken in Fort Worth? It's fine that you on your company account go in there and answer their question. Honestly, where is the best fried chicken in Fort Worth? Why do you like it? What's the name of the place, right? And what is it? Did you have a good experience there? Do you like the owners? What is it, right? Be honest, be sincere. Just a human to human. This is not a corporate activity. Yes, you're doing it on the company brand account, but you're creating again the persona of the company itself. Similarly, like let's say that people are talking about fraudulent businesses or whatever. Get in there, talk about it. Somebody says that they're sad because, their cat just died. Well, maybe that means something to you. If it resonates for you, get in there and say something. Tell them that you're really sorry, that you hope that their cat made it over the Rainbow Bridge safely. That's what I mean. Like this is a human-centric activity. And that's why it's actually quite difficult for professional marketers to engage with Reddit because um, you kind of have to be human, and that's actually in this day and age harder and harder to come by. And so I encourage you to let your personal nature shine through. Auctioneers are oftentimes scared of this, right? They want to maintain sort of like this is business, and my voice is only used to promote my business activities. That's fine. I don't think that's a bad thing. If you want to be a professional organization like that, that is very strict about how it comes across, wonderful. Probably Reddit in general is not for you. Maybe the paid advertising is fine for you, but um, the rest of this kind of marketing that I'm talking about, you you just have to be human, right? And in the same way, be a decent human, right? If you're rude, judgmental, denigrating, you take people down rather than build them up. Um, there's a lot of that on Reddit. There's actually, I mean, like I said, the entire span of human nature is on full display there. You'll find that the kind of stuff resonates with people. But of course, that will be represented in your brand as well. So if that is part of your persona, then go for it. But be honest, be sincere about your values, your beliefs, all of that. I already mentioned why our auction has changed. It's because AuctionMethod has transformed it into a professional hub. This is a recent development, so I do again, I want to encourage you if you just created an account on Reddit, this is the safest and best place for you to be. Just get on there, post away. It's okay. If you do something that we think is not in line with the direction we want to take the subreddit, we're not going to punish you. Unlike some of the other subreddits, if you go in and shamelessly promote one of your auctions or yourself in a regional or category-based subreddit, you may not even make it. Like you might your post might get automatically held for moderation, meaning it won't see the light of day. And then when the moderators come and they see that you're just shamelessly promoting yourself in violation of their community rules, they're likely to ban you, and then you can't come back. So, um, careful. Post on our auction first. I think I already touched on this earlier. I didn't just touch on it, I explained it in detail, right? Google is working closely with Reddit for this fresh content, but it isn't just Google. It's not just Google, right? Like I said, ChatGPT as well. They're not the only ones. Reddit is this top cited source even for like the chat bots and stuff. So if you want to be featured like in the AI overview, for example, so when you Google, you now see, of course, that AI overview that pops up first. Um, that AI overview is being influenced to a pretty large extent by Reddit. So, uh, yeah, anyway, I guess I can't drive that point home anymore. So yeah, I've mentioned this already, right? That this idea of a billboard, like where you're just posting like, I got a big auction, it's coming up on this day, and here's the link. That's fine. Go do that over in the R auction subreddit. Please. Actually, we encourage you to use it as a billboard. It's no problem. Actually, we love it. So we encourage you to use our auction as your billboard. You can stop there, if that's all you want to do, it's okay. It's not the biggest community on subreddit. It will help in the long run, right? It'll generate some traffic and some increase your reputation a little bit and provide some link backs for search engine optimization and generative engine optimization. It's okay. But I don't think you should stop at posting your auction announcements on the R auction subreddit. That's just a start. The rest is what I'm saying. This operator voice. Do you see that? The new approach. Create your operator voice, create your persona, create your brand's voice. Who are you as a company? What do you value? How do you engage with the community? Those are real questions, right? And from my point of view, it does not require a lot of top-down sort of decision making, right? Just understand what your business is about, what you value, and then act accordingly. Be sincere and be honest, and just treat Reddit as if you were talking to people walking in the door of your office. So, um, there's more than one kind of post. There's more than three kinds of posts, actually. Um, but the awareness part of it, that's sort of the fundamental layer. And how you establish awareness, on the one hand, awareness of what? There's the awareness of your business. There's the awareness of your willingness to attract sellers, to receive consignments, that kind of thing. And then, of course, there's awareness of your actual auctions, the events, and there's awareness of the items being sold at those events. Even the results of those sales can be really helpful. Um, and so how you can stimulate awareness is, on the one hand, yes, go ahead and post those billboard announcements, pictures, videos, sale dates, all of that to the R auction subreddit. But you can also stimulate awareness by posting in the regional subreddits, and also in the category specific subreddits. I'll go over in a second, some safeguards there, but the idea being that in those regional and category specific subreddits, you're not generally going to be just straight up showing your flyer, posting your flyer about an upcoming auction. That's probably going to get you banned in pretty much every subreddit except our auction. So how do you increase awareness? Well, like I said, you share the relevant content, right? And don't, even though I'm going to tell you a little story about awareness, because on the one hand, I want to tell you that you can't treat Reddit like a place where you're going to, get a bunch of visitors to your website for an auction that's happening tomorrow. But you can. It does happen. You just can't depend on it that way. Um, the awareness part is something that you're doing over time. It's like a daily or a weekly practice where you're just regularly engaging, right? If you dedicated 2 hours every week to Reddit, to following communities that are relevant to you, to being helpful and responding to people, and sharing where you see opportunities to share. That will increase awareness across the board. It'll increase your karma across the board, and it'll be well worth it. Um, and if you engage like that, then the opportunity to actually get traffic to your site for an upcoming sale um, can work. And I'm going to tell you one story. I have actually many of these stories. So I won't bore you with all of them, but I'll give you an example. So I have, like I said, I've been on Reddit for many years now. And of course, we have our company account, and I must have at least three or four personal accounts, right? So you can actually create multiple accounts. Don't do it for manipulative purposes. You don't get in there to like pretend to be a bunch of different people and upvote your own content and stuff like that. Reddit sees right through that. It'll get you in trouble. But anyway, so I have, on my personal account, a decent amount of karma, if you will. And so one day, I was talking to a client of mine, and he was distraught. He was totally in distress. He had an auction of a bunch of old cars, barn finds, essentially. It was a tow yard where over the years, the owner of the tow yard had accumulated a bunch of old cars. He just like popped them into his, out in his garage or a warehouse, whatever, where they just sat. And they weren't like fancy, well-polished cars, but you know how it is with these barn finds. A lot of them are quite, just the fact that they're a barn find has its own appeal, if you know what I'm talking about. But this auctioneer wasn't a super savvy marketer, and he had spent thousands of dollars, his entire advertising budget on the local newspaper, on Facebook, all of the sort of usual places. And he calls me up and he says, Daniel, I don't know what to do. I only have a handful of registered bidders for this auction. It's happening like the auction had actually already started. The bidding period had actually already started. And he said, I don't see any traffic. And I asked him what he'd done, and I was like, man, you just blew your entire marketing budget like that without thinking about whether or not it might actually attract the right bidders. Why didn't you promote this to the communities that are interested in what you're selling? Right? And that should just sort of, from my point of view, that should just sort of intuitively make sense if you're a marketer, that you market to the people, to the communities that are interested in what you're selling. But actually, what I've discovered in this job is that a lot of auctioneers are not actually all that great at marketing. They're pretty good at like advertising, promotional stuff, basic, putting up flyers, that kind of thing. But actual marketing, not so good. Anyway, long story short, I told him, I was like, I don't know what to do. You don't have any money to spend. So what do you want from me? How am I supposed to help you, right? I can't tell you where to advertise because you don't have any money to advertise. And I said, well, I'll do you a solid and I'll see, no promises, but I'll see if I can stimulate some interest. So what I did is I went and downloaded all of the pictures from his auction, and I went into one of the classic car subreddits. I don't remember which one. Um, and I posted a gallery. Oh, just the pictures, a whole bunch of pictures, right? All these, dust web all over, dust, cobwebs and dust all over these old cars sitting in a warehouse. Which, if you know anything about classic car people, that is like super attractive, right? Like there's something amazing. It's not just like a beautiful, well taken care of car, but it's something that has potential and interest, human interest. So I posted it on this classic car auction site or subreddit and just said, I'm an auctioneer, and one of my buddies is selling a tow yard where they found all these cars. And I didn't say anything else. I didn't say, and they're selling them here on this website on this date or whatever. I just shared the pictures and just said, yeah, my buddy he came across this. Isn't this neat? Isn't this interesting? Right? So of course it didn't get held for moderation because it's great. It's just a bunch of pictures. Like there's nothing, it's totally innocent, right? And of course, oh man, that thing, the number of upvotes, which is a sign that the community likes the content, it went crazy, right? And of course, people are commenting on there. Well, what about this? What about where is it? And I'm like, oh, it's in this place in California. Innocent, right? I'm being not deceptive, but I'm just sort of like answering the questions, like, not actually promoting. So. then inevitably someone's like, where is the auction taking place? Where can I, if I wanted to bid, where would I bid? Now, because somebody asked the question, I was able to reply, oh, it's on this, here's that guy's website. I didn't even put a link to the auction, which is what an auctioneer would normally do. I just said, oh, I didn't even put a link. I just said it's like, oh, it's this, you know? Anyway, pretending to be just sort of like your ordinary average person who just shared the pictures because he thought it was interesting and then engages by answering the questions. Anyway, that that auctioneer contacted me in tears to just say thank you. He said, I don't know what like he didn't know what I did. And he's like, I don't know what you did, but my phone's been ringing off the hook and I have so many emails and the bids are going crazy. And I went and looked at the site. I saw. I mean, it just skyrocketed. The auctioneer, the sale was much bigger than they ever, I think he said it was like 5 times, maybe even more, what he had thought it would be worth on a good day. Mind you, he wasn't having a good day when he contacted me. So the results went way beyond his expectations. The seller was ecstatic, never believed in a million years that their stuff would be worth that much. It actually got picked up. There was I think it was like cars.com or it was some major like classic car outlet. You know, of course, their reporters are in these groups as well. They're paying attention. That person had seen my post, had thought it was super exciting, and had gone and created their own news article, not a paid advertisement, a news article that they then shared with their entire community. So the whole thing was this massive success, right? But it didn't come through the ordinary means, right? First, I had to have the karma. I had to have already engaged enough that, that my posts and stuff are seen as valid. And then I had to do it in this way that wasn't blatant advertising. And the results were amazing. But if you try to make that happen, if you're like, serious about that goal and you go in with that goal, you're likely going to screw it up, right? The point is just engage, like don't use Reddit as your primary advertising tool. It shouldn't be. It's fine. Do their paid advertising. I told you I would touch on that and I will, but and their paid advertising is fantastic. But if you really want to use it as a marketing tool, don't don't be so attached to outcomes. Just do the work. And I mean that as a practice. Just like you might do yoga every day, you might meditate every day, you might do strength training exercises every day, whatever it is, that you're trying to bring into your life, including your business life, you have to practice it on a regular basis. And that's how Reddit is. It's regular community engagement. And if you make a practice of regular community engagement on Reddit, you will be rewarded. I cannot, and no one can promise you specific results from Reddit. It's not gonna work that way. Um, but I promise you, it is well worth it to engage in this regular practice. All right. Let's see here. Post targeting serious bidders and uh, uh yeah, I don't know. Sure. There's other kinds of posts besides awareness, and I think I've already touched on it. Share from your heart. Tell a good story and don't be blatant with your advertising. Okay? I think that's really what I'm trying to say here. By the way, if I didn't not mention it, but I think if you're on Zoom, there's like a Q&A section, a little button at the bottom that you can ask questions. It's not a chat. I'll review the questions and answer or the questions when I'm done with this, which is momentarily, but feel free, post questions in there and I'll do my best to answer them. Do, 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 do. Yeah, all right. Mm, this is kind of a BS slide, to be honest with you. Um, 85% of successful posts include specific details about sale dates and notable lots. No, maybe, you know what? 85% of successful posts on our auction subreddit. Yes, yes, yes. get specific about the details of the sales and notable lots, please do that, right? Oh, this is for the auction community. Fine, that's good. The rest of Reddit, don't do that. Okay, listen to what I said already. Ah, okay. Stay out of trouble. Uh, you could get into trouble on Reddit. Over here on the far left, keep your posts helpful, not promotional. We already covered that. If I could drill one thing into you, it's that. Be helpful, be kind, be considerate, be a good person, take care of other people, and don't shamelessly self-promote. The way I sometimes think about this is imagine that you go to a party, right, where there's a bunch of people, it's a social event. If you go into the party and every time you're talking to somebody, all you do is talk about yourself. Oh, I'm so awesome and I'm doing this and I'm the CEO of this company and I'm so smart and I'm so rich and look at me, look at me, look at me. Are you gonna like have a good time at that party? Are you gonna dance with a lot of people? Are you gonna have make a lot of friends at the party? No. No. But if you go and you ask questions, who are you? What are you on about, right? How can I help you? Can we connect? Is there some common ground between you and me, right? That kind of thing. Then you're gonna have a good time, right? Reddit is the same way. Establish common ground with other people, communicate in a sincere, authentic way that is helpful and kind, and you'll be fine. Also, like I was trying to share with that story, you do want to warm up your audience before selling anything. And the best way to warm them up is just by sharing some media. Just videos and pictures, is probably the easiest way to warm up your audience. So, like, let's say that you know that a month from now or 2 months from now, you're going to be selling some antiques, like you're going to have an antique auction, some antique furniture. Get into the antique or other subreddits, right? There's more than one, and share some pictures and maybe some like stories. Ask questions. Actually, I should say that the warming up, one of the best things that you can do to warm up a particular category or subreddit rather, is to get in there and ask questions. So the best way to do that is like post, and this is actually a common need among auctioneers. So using the antique example, let's say I have some antique furniture. I don't know what it is, like coffee table. So I take a bunch of pictures of the coffee table, maybe even a video of it. But I have some questions, right? Auctioneers, like you don't already know everything there is to know. So a good way to do that is to say like, hey, I have this coffee table, and I'm wondering, does this look like it could be a 17th century blah blah blah? I don't know the language, whatever. Could it be that, or could it be this other thing? Or, in fact, it's a well-known rule on Reddit. Post the wrong information. Share the pictures and say, look at this beautiful coffee table, um, and then put some bad information on there. People they love to correct you. So if you want to get the best information possible from Reddit, post the wrong information. That's actually a famous rule on Reddit. So asking questions is really, really important. I have a number of stories. It's actually my favorite way of sort of circumventing the self-promotional rules is I come in and I'll come brand new into a subreddit, never been there before. They don't know me. I haven't warmed them up, nothing. And I'll come in and I'll be somewhat honest, right? I'll be like, hey, I'm an auctioneer and I'm like I've never seen like I don't know anything about antiques. I don't even know, is this a coffee table or is this like a bench? Something like that. I don't know anything, right? I'm dumb and I'm just asking for help. I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not trying to get them to come to my side. I don't even tell them who I am. I'm just displaying my ignorance and allowing them to help me. Um, it's a wonderful way to warm people up to you, to warm a subreddit up to you. The other thing, while I'm at it, just while I'm thinking of it, is if you're ever in doubt about whether or not you can post a particular piece of content to a subreddit, you can actually contact the moderators of the subreddit. There's a little place on the side. contact the subreddit, the moderators, and ask them. Um, that's one of the best ways to circumvent rules is if you know that the community would be interested, ask the moderators for help. Say, hey, I really want to post this information about this auction, but I know I don't want to be like promoting it in like this way that's against the rules. Can you help me? Asking for help from the moderators is great. It doesn't mean you're always going to get it. They might tell you to, take a hike, but um, it's always worth trying. Um, Transparency, even though, I've sort of alluded to the fact that you may not want to be fully transparent at all times. Um, Reddit is full of very curious people. If you are dishonest or manipulating the environment, um, or much less than transparent, how about this? Reddit will increase transparency whether you are transparent or they are removing the obstacles to transparency. That's one of the things about it. Like people will have like a personal vendetta and they'll come in and they'll like really try to figure out who you are and what you're up to on there. So it's easier just to be honest, to be, transparent. Like I was saying, going into a community and saying, I am an auctioneer and I don't know about this particular asset. Nobody's gonna like be upset about that. Whereas if you come in there and you're like, you come up with some cockamamie story, then there's a good chance that they'll sniff it out, and you won't like it if they have to sniff it out. They'll come after you. Um, don't find out what I mean by that. Just stay clean. The other thing that a lot of people make a mistake on is they don't stay engaged. If you post something on a subreddit or you make a comment on there, come back and see if people are responding to you, and if they are, keep it going. The best thing you could ever do is to respond to comments. Every single like let's say you make a post at the coffee table, for example. Every single comment, go in there and upvote and respond to the comment. Every single one of them. And don't stop. Like they'll keep responding. That's the best thing. Because it's an indicator of interest and it actually floats the whole thing up. And so stay engaged. Hmm, I'm not so sure that I really want to talk about this. Four-phase posting cadence. This is too formulaic. It's not bad advice to, you know, essentially announce your auction, engage, remind people the auction's happening, and then after the auction's over, share some results. That last one about sharing the results is actually a really good one. But most auctioneers will fail to do that one because they're like, auction's over. Why would I continue to post about it? It's over. I already made my money. It's a wrong attitude. The results of your auction, good or bad, could be really, really, really interesting to the community and would increase engagement. And so, from a marketing standpoint, it's great. From an advertising point of view, not so good. Okay, I know. I've already said it multiple times. R auction, r/auction on Reddit. Get in there, start posting. Promise you, it won't hurt. With none of the bad things that Reddit could possibly do will happen if you post your auction content on our auction. It's being moderated by AuctionMethod, but you don't have to be an AuctionMethod client to post there. In fact, we really don't care who is posting there as long as you're a professional auctioneer. We don't allow eBay posts or, whatnot posts or Facebook posts, none of that. It's for the professional community. So that is the first place to go. Uh, Questions and answers. Okay, before we get into that, I do just want to say, um, because I promised that I would touch on it, uh, Reddit does allow for advertising, paid advertising. So, do it. It actually is quite valuable. I've seen amazing results. What's cool about it is you can target specific subreddits. So, you can actually, like the antique subreddit, you could run ads on that subreddit. So that's a great way to target your ads. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Oh, that's kind of weird. There actually is not. Huh? There's a webinar chat. I thought there was a Q&A section here. Is there? Oh, here it is. Q&A. Ah, look at that. No questions. You guys just accepted everything that I had to say. Means I must have done a decent job of explaining it, or you weren't actually paying attention, something like that. But I don't see any raised hands. I don't see any comments in chat. Oh, yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm glad that you listened as well. Come back to any of the webinars. Also, I am going to be posting a detailed, like a long report on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, follow me, Daniel West, and check out the article. I'll probably post it this afternoon, but it's a much longer, much more in-depth exploration of using Reddit as an auction marketing tool. So hopefully that'll be a valuable valuable resource for you as well. Um, okay, since there aren't any other questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I thank you so much for joining me today. I hope it was helpful. Feel free, these webinars are on a monthly basis. The last Friday of every month, we try to make it. They're also available on our website at auctionmethod.com afterwards, so anybody who missed it can always go and check it out later. And if you have ideas for future webinar discussions, please. Share them with me, Daniel at auctionmethod.com. I welcome your emails and look forward to hearing from you. Have a great weekend. Take care of everybody.